I am Mackenzie Reynolds, 34 now, but I was just 16 when my mother Stephanie abandoned me at Denver International Airport. I remember the weight of my carry-on. The confusion as I watched her walk away with my stepfather Richard and his kids. Her final words still echo, "You can figure it out," she shrugged, not even looking back. That moment of betrayal transformed my life in ways I never imagined. Before I share how I turned this abandonment into triumph, let me know where you're watching from in the comments. And subscribe to join me on this journey of resilience and redemption. My childhood in Westport, Connecticut started like a storybook. We lived in a colonial-style home with blue shutters, just 3 blocks from the beach. My mother Stephanie worked as a real estate agent, while my father James built his technology consulting business. I was their only child, and until I was 12, I believed we were the perfect family. Dad coached my soccer team on weekends, Mom cheered from the sidelines, and holidays were filled with laughter and traditions. The first cracks appeared when I was 11. The hushed arguments behind closed doors, the tension at dinner, and my father sleeping in the guest room. I pretended not to notice, convinced it was temporary. Then came the night I found Mom crying at the kitchen table, divorce papers spread before her. "Your father has chosen his career over us," she told me. Though years later I'd learned the truth was far more complicated. The divorce was finalized within months. Dad moved to California to rebuild his struggling business, promising to call every Sunday and visit during holidays. Mom retained primary custody, keeping our family home while Dad sent monthly checks that Mom complained were never enough. Those first 2 years, I lived for Dad's calls and his occasional visits. Mom seemed to resent every moment I spent talking about him or to him. "He left us, Mackenzie," she would remind me, as though his move across the country was an abandonment rather than a necessity. When I turned 14, everything changed again. Mom met Richard Thomas at a charity gala. He was recently divorced, wealthy from his investment banking career, and had 2 children close to my age. Their whirlwind romance lasted just 4 months before Richard moved into our home, bringing 15-year-old Aiden and 13-year-old Ashley with him. Our house suddenly felt too small. I gave up my art room so Ashley could have her own bedroom rather than share with me. Aiden took over the basement I'd used as a photography darkroom. "We need to make accommodations," Mom explained. They've been through a lot with the divorce. It seemed I was expected to understand divorce trauma for everyone except myself. The dynamic shifted almost immediately. Mom transformed before my eyes, adopting Richard's preferences and priorities. She traded her casual style for designer clothes, canceled our traditional Sunday brunches to attend country club events, and began referring to Richard's children as the kids while I became my daughter when she introduced us to others. Small inequalities grew over time. When Aiden needed a car, Richard bought him a new Jeep. When I got my license, Mom suggested I could use her old sedan when available. Ashley received a complete bedroom renovation with custom furniture. My room remained unchanged since childhood. "Richard is being generous with his money," Mom would say when I questioned the disparities. "We should be grateful." My father noticed the changes during his increasingly rare visits. "You seem different, Mac," he said during Christmas break when I was 15. "Everything okay at home?" I downplayed my concerns, not wanting to burden him when he was clearly struggling. His clothes looked worn, his rental car was basic, and his gifts were thoughtful but modest. Meanwhile, Richard had just gifted Mom a diamond bracelet that cost more than Dad's entire business. Dad tried maintaining our relationship despite the distance. He sent letters I rarely received, made calls that often went to voicemail, and suggested summer visits that Mom discouraged with comments about unsafe living conditions and his irresponsible lifestyle. I would later discover Dad had sent birthday gifts that never reached me and had called far more often than I knew. School became my refuge. I maintained perfect grades, joined the photography club, and won a regional competition with my photo series on coastal erosion. I brought home the trophy, excited to share my achievement, only to find the house empty. They had gone to celebrate Aiden making the varsity basketball team. My trophy ended up on my desk, while Aiden's basketball achievements filled the living room shelves. I tried connecting with my step-siblings, but they remained aloof. Aiden ignored me unless he needed something, while Ashley made subtle comments about my clothes, my friends, and how I didn't really fit with their new family image. When I confided in Mom, she suggested I try harder and be more like Ashley. By 16, I had become a ghost in my own home. I ate dinner with the family, but remained silent as Richard discussed Aiden's sports prospects and Ashley's social connections. Mom, once my fiercest advocate, now watched me through Richard's eyes, seeing all the ways I didn't compliment their new perfect family. Financial discussions never included me, though I overheard enough to understand that Richard controlled the household economy. Mom, once independent, now asked permission for purchases and justified expenses related to me. Mackenzie needs new glasses, she would say apologetically, as though my basic needs were an imposition. Despite everything, I never imagined what was coming. I never thought a mother could simply walk away from her child in an airport terminal. But looking back, the signs were there all along. I just couldn't believe that the woman who had once been my whole world could ever see me as dispensable. The announcement came during a February dinner. Richard tapped his glass, drawing everyone's attention. I have a surprise, he announced, his smile directed primarily at my mother and his children. I've booked us a European vacation for spring break. 2 weeks touring London, Paris, and Rome. Ashley squealed with delight while Aiden gave an approving nod. Mom gasped, reaching for Richard's hand. That's incredibly generous, darling. I sat quietly, waiting to be included in the excitement. After several moments of animated discussion about fashion in Paris and history in Rome, I finally spoke up. That sounds amazing. I've always wanted to see Europe. A strange look passed between Mom and Richard. Yes, well, it will be quite the experience, Richard replied vaguely. In the weeks that followed, travel preparations began. Mom took Ashley shopping for new luggage and travel clothes. Aiden received an international phone plan and a new camera. Yet whenever I asked specific questions about our itinerary or what I should pack, the answers were oddly evasive. Don't worry about it right now, Mom would say. Just focus on your midterms. 2 weeks before departure, I found a detailed itinerary on the kitchen counter. For hotel reservations. For museum passes. For train tickets between cities. I confronted Mom while she was folding laundry. The travel documents only show 4 people. Is there a mistake? She avoided my eyes. Richard is handling all the arrangements. I'm sure everything is in order. I tried to believe her, but doubt had planted itself firmly in my mind. I began packing anyway, researching the cities we would visit, and practicing basic French and Italian phrases. I even spent my savings on a universal power adapter and a travel guidebook. The night before our departure, I was in my room finishing my packing when I heard raised voices from Mom and Richard's bedroom across the hall. She's going to make a scene, Richard said, his voice tight with irritation. What was I supposed to do? Mom replied. You said you wouldn't pay for her portion. I've been clear from the beginning. This trip is for our family. Mackenzie has never made an effort to be part of that. She's my daughter, Richard. And you've done your duty. She's 16, not 6. One disappointment won't kill her. Their voices lowered, and I couldn't hear Mom's response. I sat on my bed, stomach churning with anxiety. Surely Mom wouldn't let this happen. Surely there was some misunderstanding. The next morning, we loaded our luggage into Richard's SUV. No one commented on the fact that my suitcase was the only one in the trunk while the others had been loaded the night before. The ride to Denver International Airport was tense and quiet. I tried making conversation about the historic sites in Rome, but received only cursory responses. When we reached the international terminal, Richard handed Mom some papers. You handle this, he muttered, before leading Aiden and Ashley toward the check-in counter. Mom turned to me. Her expression a mask I couldn't read. Mackenzie, there's been a change of plans. What kind of change? My voice sounded small even to my own ears. You won't be coming to Europe with us. The words hit me like physical blows. What? Why? Is it my passport? Did something happen? Richard feels this should be a trip for just us and the kids. He thinks you're old enough to stay home by yourself for 2 weeks. You're leaving me behind? You're choosing them over me. My voice rose, drawing glances from nearby travelers. Don't make a scene, Mom hissed, glancing nervously toward Richard. This isn't about choosing anyone. It's just a vacation. If it's just a vacation, why can't I come too? Richard is paying for this trip, and he gets to decide who goes. She reached into her purse and pulled out some cash. Here's $200. You can take a taxi home. There's food in the fridge, and Mrs. Peterson next door will check on you. I stared at the money, unable to comprehend what was happening. You're abandoning me at the airport? You packed me up. Drove me here, just to leave me? You're being dramatic, she said, though I caught a flicker of shame in her eyes. You can figure it out. You're smart and responsible. Richard called from the check-in counter, waving impatiently. Mom glanced at him, then back at me. I have to go. International check-in takes time. Mom, please. I felt tears welling up. Don't do this. For a moment, something like doubt crossed her face. Then Ashley called Mom. We need your passport, and the moment was gone. I'll call when we land in London, she said, pressing the money into my hand. Be good, Mackenzie. She walked away, rolling her carry-on behind her, not looking back once. I stood frozen, watching as they proceeded through security. Ashley turning once to give me a small, smug wave. You can figure it out, Mom had shrugged. Those 5 words revealed everything about how little I mattered. I stood alone in the bustling terminal, surrounded by reuniting families and excited travelers, with nowhere to go and no one to turn to. In that moment, I understood that the mother I thought I knew had disappeared long before she physically walked away. I don't know how long I stood there, clutching the $200 and watching the security checkpoint where my family had disappeared. People streamed around me, bumping my shoulders occasionally, muttering apologies or giving irritated glances at the teenager blocking foot traffic. Reality crashed down when a family with young children asked me to move so they could access the check-in counter. I stumbled to a nearby bench, my legs suddenly unable to support me. My hands shook so badly I dropped my phone twice trying to unlock it. Who could I call? My school friends were all traveling for spring break. My few relatives lived across the country. The house would be empty for 2 weeks, and while I could physically survive there alone, the thought of returning to that silent space, filled with evidence of my dispensability, made me nauseated. Are you all right, honey? I looked up to see an airline employee in a blue uniform watching me with concern. Her name tag read, Heather. My voice broke, and to my horror, I began sobbing uncontrollably. Heather sat beside me, her hand gentle on my shoulder. Take your time. Deep breaths. When I could speak again, I explained what had happened between hiccuping sobs. Heather's expression shifted from concern to outrage. They just left you here? Your mother abandoned you at the airport. When I nodded, she stood up decisively. Come with me. She led me to an employee-only door, swiped her access card, and guided me to a quiet lounge area with comfortable chairs and a water cooler. This is our quiet room. You can stay here while you figure things out. She handed me a tissue box. Do you have anyone you can call? The question forced me to confront the painful truth of my isolation. I scrolled through my phone contacts, seeing names of classmates who were friends, but not confidants. Teachers who would be obligated to report abandonment to authorities, neighbors who knew me only in passing. And then I saw it. Dad. I hadn't spoken to my father in nearly 2 months. Our last conversation had been stilted, monitored by Mom who kept checking her watch and sighing loudly. But he was still my father. I could call my dad, I said hesitantly. But he lives in California. And things have been complicated. Complicated how? Heather asked gently. My mom has primary custody. She doesn't encourage our relationship. And I think she might have been intercepting his calls and letters. The realization dawned as I spoke it. Well, complicated or not, he's your father. And what your mother did is illegal. It's abandonment of a minor. The word abandonment made it real. My own mother had abandoned me. Heather gave me privacy to make the call, stepping just outside the door. With trembling fingers, I pulled up my father's contact and pressed call, half expecting voicemail. He answered on the second ring. Mackenzie? Is everything okay? His immediate concern unlocked something in me, and I broke down again. Through tears, I explained what had happened. The vacation announcement. The subtle exclusion. The airport abandonment. She just walked away, Dad. She didn't even look back. The silence on the other end was so long I thought we'd been disconnected. Then I heard him exhale slowly. I'm coming to get you, Mac. Stay exactly where you are. But you're in California. I don't care if you are in Antarctica. I'm coming. It'll take me a few hours to arrange things, but I'm coming. Can you stay safe until then? There's an airline employee helping me. Heather. Put her on the phone, please. I called Heather back in and handed her my phone. She spoke briefly with my father, nodding and providing details about where I was. When she handed the phone back, Dad's voice was steady. Heather will make sure you're taken care of until I arrive. I'm leaving right now, Mac. I promise I won't let you down. After we hung up, Heather brought me a sandwich and soda from the employee cafeteria. Your dad seems like a good man, she said. He's very worried about you. I haven't seen him much in the past few years. I admitted. Mom always had reasons why visits weren't convenient. As the hours passed in the quiet room, I replayed moments from the past 4 years. Dad's Christmas gifts that seemed less personal over time, as if he didn't know what I liked anymore. The calls that became less frequent. The letters that stopped coming. Had he given up on me? Or had Mom created barriers I never knew existed? I thought about my gradual isolation at home. The way Richard's children received priority in everything from bedroom space to vacation inclusion. The way Mom transformed from my protector to a woman desperate to please her new husband, even at my expense. 6 hours after my call, Heather returned looking slightly awestruck. Your father is here, she said. And you didn't mention he was coming in a private jet. Eh, what? Come on, they're waiting for you in the private terminal. In a daze. I followed Heather through service corridors and out to a separate building I didn't even know existed. And there, standing beside a sleek white jet with Reynolds Tech painted on the side, was my father. He looked different from my memories. More confident, dressed in a tailored suit rather than the worn jeans and button-downs I remembered. But his eyes were the same. And they filled with tears when he saw me. We collided in a hug that nearly knocked us both over. I'm here, Mac, he whispered against my hair. I'm here, and I'm never leaving you again. In that moment, surrounded by the jet engine's distant rumble and my father's protective embrace, I made a decision. I would not return to a home where I was an afterthought. I would not pine for a mother who could walk away without looking back. I would rebuild my life, just as my father had rebuilt his. And I would never again accept being treated as less than I deserved. The interior of the private jet was nothing like I'd imagined. Cream leather seats, polished wood tables, and a small kitchenette staffed by a flight attendant named Carol who immediately offered me hot chocolate. Your father mentioned it was your favorite, she said with a warm smile. I glanced at Dad, surprised he remembered such a detail after our years apart. He sat across from me, his expression a mixture of concern and something I couldn't quite identify. Pride, perhaps. Reynolds Tech, I said, gesturing to the logo I'd seen on the plane's exterior. That's new. Dad nodded. A lot has changed in the past few years, Mac. When I moved to California, my business was failing. I had to start over with almost nothing. Mom always said you chose your career over us. His jaw tightened. That's not what happened. The divorce was complicated. But I never chose anything over you. Never. As the jet cruised at 30,000 feet, Dad explained how he'd pivoted his consulting business into a software development company specializing in cybersecurity. 3 years of near bankruptcy followed by a breakthrough patent that attracted major investors. Why didn't you tell me? I asked. About your success. I tried, Mackenzie. I sent letters. Made calls. He hesitated. I'm beginning to think they didn't all reach you. I thought about the sporadic communication, the missing birthday gifts, the canceled visits. I think Mom might have been interfering. Dad didn't look surprised, just sad. We'll sort all that out later. Right now, I want to make sure you're okay. What your mother did today was inexcusable. And illegal, I added, remembering Heather's words. Yes, abandonment of a minor is a serious offense. He leaned forward. But before we address any legal matters, I need to know what you want, Mac. Not what I want, not what the law says, but what you want. No one had asked me that question in years. What did I want? The answer came with surprising clarity. I don't want to go back there. Not to that house, not to Mom and Richard and their perfect new family where I'm just an inconvenience. Dad nodded slowly. Then you won't. California has excellent schools, and my home has plenty of room. But this isn't a decision to make in the heat of emotion. We can take it day by day. We landed at a small private airfield outside Los Angeles as sunset painted the sky in brilliant oranges and pinks. A sleek black car waited on the tarmac, driven by a woman who introduced herself as Natalie, Dad's executive assistant. We've prepared the guest suite for Mackenzie, she told Dad. And I've rescheduled your Tokyo meetings for next week as requested. Thank you, Natalie. I'll be working from home for the foreseeable future. I realized he was canceling international business travel to stay with me, and the knowledge warmed something cold inside me. Dad's home was nothing like our Connecticut colonial. Perched on a Malibu hillside, the modern structure of glass and steel overlooked the Pacific Ocean. My guest suite turned out to be larger than my entire upstairs at Mom's house, with a private bathroom, sitting area, and balcony with ocean views. This is temporary, Dad assured me, misreading my overwhelmed expression. If you decide to stay, we can decorate your own room however you like. That first night in California was surreal. I showered in an unfamiliar bathroom with expensive toiletries. Wore pajamas Natalie had thoughtfully purchased since I had only the clothes on my back, and lay in a bed that felt both luxurious and strange. Dad knocked softly around 10, bringing a mug of hot chocolate. I thought you might have trouble sleeping. I sat up, wrapping my arms around my knees. Did you know? About how things were at Mom's. He sat on the edge of the bed. I suspected something wasn't right. Your calls became less frequent, more guarded. When I visited, you seemed diminished somehow. But I never imagined she would do something like this. What happens now? Tomorrow, we'll call Marcus Bennett. He's the best family law attorney in California. We'll discuss our options. He hesitated. And while he's handling the legal side, we'll work on getting to know each other again. For years is a long time, Mac. I've missed so much of your life. I've missed you too. Dad. After he left, I stood on the balcony watching moonlight shimmer on the ocean. My phone buzzed with a text from Mom. Landed safely in London. Hope you got home okay? The casual message after what she'd done ignited a fury I'd never felt before. I turned off my phone without responding and returned to bed. For the first time in years, I fell asleep feeling safe. The next morning, Dad gave me a tour of his home, which included a state-of-the-art photography studio. You mentioned in your Christmas letter 2 years ago that you were interested in photography, he explained. I thought maybe we could share the hobby. The fact that he remembered a detail from a letter I barely recalled sending brought tears to my eyes. Later that day, we visited Dad's company headquarters in Santa Monica. Reynolds Tech occupied 3 floors of a modern building near the beach. Employees greeted Dad with genuine respect, and several mentioned hearing about me over the years. Your father talks about you constantly, said Leah, his marketing director. We've all seen your school photos on his desk. I glanced at Dad, who looked slightly embarrassed. I might have bragged about your academic achievements a bit. In his office, I saw what Leah meant. Among the industry awards and business magazines featuring Dad's company was a framed display of school photos tracking my growth from 12 to 16, along with newspaper clippings about my photography contest wins. You kept track of everything, I whispered. Of course I did, Mackenzie. You're my daughter. Just because I wasn't there doesn't mean I wasn't watching, cheering from afar. While Dad attended a brief meeting, Natalie helped me make a list of essentials I needed. By afternoon, we had purchased clothes, toiletries, and even a new laptop. Your father mentioned you might be staying long-term, Natalie said carefully as we loaded shopping bags into the car. He's happier than I've seen him in years. I think I will be staying, I said, surprised by my own certainty. But we need to handle things legally. 2 days later, Marcus Bennett arrived at the house. The distinguished attorney listened intently as I described the airport abandonment and the years of emotional neglect preceding it. What your mother did constitutes child abandonment under both Colorado and Connecticut law, he explained. We have grounds to petition for an immediate change in custody. Before we do anything, I want to retrieve my things from Connecticut, I said. My photography equipment, my personal items. Mom and Richard won't be back for 2 weeks. Marcus and Dad exchanged looks. That could be arranged, Marcus said carefully. But we'd need to document everything properly. 2 days later, Dad and I flew back to Connecticut on his private jet, accompanied by Marcus and a professional photographer who would document the condition of the house and my belongings. Using my key, we entered the silent house. Everything was exactly as I'd left it, except for one detail. On the kitchen counter sat a stack of mail addressed to me, rubber-banded by year. Birthday cards, Christmas cards, postcards from Dad's business travels. Some envelopes contained gift cards or checks that had never been cashed. She kept them from me, I whispered, showing Dad. All these years. His expression hardened. Document everything, he told the photographer. Every piece of mail, every room, everything. In my bedroom, I found more evidence of Mom's deception. In my desk drawer, beneath school papers, was a folder containing printed emails from Dad that I'd never seen. Flight itineraries for visits that had been canceled with excuses about Dad's work commitments, and even brochures for summer programs in California that Dad had apparently suggested. As I packed my belongings, I felt a strange detachment from the room that had been mine since childhood. The space no longer felt like home. It was a museum of a life I was leaving behind. Before departing, I wrote a brief note. I'm safe with Dad. Don't try to contact me. My lawyer will be in touch. I left it on the kitchen counter beside the unopened mail, a silent testimony to years of deception. As our plane lifted off from Connecticut soil, I didn't look back. My future awaited in California, with a father who had never stopped loving me, even when distance and deception kept us apart. My first week in California passed in a blur of practical arrangements. Dad enrolled me in Westridge School, an academically rigorous private school in Pasadena. Marcus Bennett filed emergency custody papers in both Connecticut and California courts. A therapist named Dr. Eleanor Fields was engaged to help me process the abandonment trauma. Adjustment will take time, Dr. Fields warned during our first session. You've experienced a profound betrayal from the person who should have protected you most. Meanwhile, Mom had returned from Europe to find my note and empty bedroom. Her calls and texts escalated from casual check-ins to frantic demands to know where I was. I maintained radio silence on Marcus's advice, though each ignored call twisted something painful inside me. She abandoned you at an airport, Dad reminded me gently when he found me staring at my phone. You don't owe her an immediate response. 2 weeks after my arrival in California, I started school. Westridge was nothing like my Connecticut public high school. Classes were smaller, teachers more engaged, and the campus resembled a small college with its Spanish-style architecture and manicured grounds. My first day, I met Jessica Martinez in photography class. She noticed me struggling with unfamiliar equipment and offered help without condescension. New girl, right? She said with a warm smile. I was the new girl last year. It gets better, I promise. Jessica became my first real friend in California, inviting me to lunch with her group and offering to show me around Los Angeles on weekends. Unlike my Connecticut classmates who knew me as Stephanie's daughter or later Richard's stepdaughter's friend, Jessica and the others at Westridge saw me simply as Mackenzie. You're different here, Dad observed after my first month at Westridge. We were sharing dinner on the patio, watching the sunset over the Pacific. More confident. I feel different. I admitted, like I can breathe again. Dad had transformed our relationship with characteristic thoroughness. He rearranged his work schedule to be home when I returned from school. We established weekly photography outings to explore California landscapes. He attended every school event, sitting front row at my photography exhibition and beaming with unrestrained pride. When he learned about my interest in digital manipulation, he surprised me with professional editing software and arranged private lessons with a photographer from National Geographic. "Your talent deserves proper nurturing," he explained. The legal proceedings advanced steadily. Marcus successfully petitioned for temporary full custody based on the abandonment incident. Mom hired her own attorney who attempted to paint Dad as an absentee father who had suddenly decided to play parent. The strategy backfired when Marcus presented the documented evidence of intercepted communications and canceled visits. 3 months after the airport incident, we returned to Connecticut for a formal custody hearing. Seeing Mom across the courtroom was harder than I'd anticipated. She looked smaller somehow, her designer clothes hanging loosely on her frame, dark circles beneath her eyes. "Mackenzie," she called, stepping toward me, but Marcus smoothly intercepted her. "All communications should go through counsel, Mrs. Thomas," he said firmly. The hearing itself was anticlimactic. Judge Eleanor Watkins reviewed the evidence, interviewed me privately in her chambers, and issued her ruling with clear disapproval toward my mother. "Mrs. Thomas, the court finds your actions constituted child abandonment under state law. Additionally, the documented pattern of parental alienation is deeply troubling." She turned to my father. "Mr. Reynolds, the court grants your petition for full custody of the minor child." The gavel's sound echoed with finality. Mom collapsed into her chair while Richard, sitting behind her, simply checked his watch as if the proceedings had taken too much of his valuable time. Outside the courthouse, Mom caught up to us in the parking lot. "You've destroyed our family," she accused Dad. "No, Stephanie. You did that when you left our 16-year-old daughter alone at an airport." Dad's voice was calm but firm. "You did that when you hid my letters and canceled my visits." "I want to talk to Mackenzie alone," she demanded. Dad looked at me questioningly. I nodded. 5 minutes. When Dad stepped away, Mom's composed facade crumbled. "Why are you doing this to me? Do you know how this looks? Richard's friends, our neighbors, everyone is talking." The revelation stunned me. After everything, she was concerned about appearances. "You abandoned me at an airport, Mom. You chose Richard and his kids over your own daughter." "It was just a vacation," she insisted. "You're being dramatic, as usual." "It wasn't just a vacation. It was the final message that I didn't matter in your new life." I stepped back, creating physical distance that matched the emotional gulf between us. "I'm not coming back. I've found somewhere I belong, with someone who puts me first." "He'll disappoint you," she warned. "He always does." "No, Mom. That's what you did." I turned to walk away, then paused. "The court ordered you to pay back child support since you violated the custody agreement. Dad's donating it all to a foundation for abandoned children. Just thought you should know." Returning to California after the hearing felt like coming home. My temporary guest suite had evolved into a personalized sanctuary with photography equipment, art supplies, and a wall of images capturing my new life. Dad had even surprised me with a darkroom conversion of an unused storage space. As sophomore year progressed, I thrived academically and socially. My photography won regional competitions and was featured in the school's art journal. Jessica and I became inseparable, spending weekends exploring Los Angeles with our cameras, capturing everything from urban landscapes to beach sunsets. Dad's business continued to flourish, but he maintained his commitment to being present in my life. We established traditions of our own. Sunday breakfast at a beachside cafe, monthly photography road trips, and weekly movie nights where we alternated choosing films. Dr. Fields helped me process the complex emotions surrounding Mom's betrayal. "Healing isn't linear," she reminded me during sessions. "Some days will be harder than others, and that's normal." She was right. There were nights I cried remembering the mother who had once braided my hair and kissed my scraped knees. There were days I raged at how easily she had discarded me. But gradually, the sharp pain dulled to a manageable ache. Mom's attempts at contact grew less frequent. She sent a Christmas card signed only by her, not Richard. She mailed a birthday gift that arrived 3 weeks late. Each gesture felt like obligation rather than genuine connection. By contrast, my relationship with Dad deepened through both ordinary moments and extraordinary ones. He taught me to drive on Pacific Coast Highway, white-knuckled but patient. When I caught the flu, he worked from home for a week, bringing chicken soup and reading aloud from my favorite books, as he had when I was small. I missed so much, he said one evening as we reviewed college brochures. Junior year was ending, and the future beckoned. I'll never forgive myself for the years we lost. It wasn't your fault, I assured him. And we have now. We have the future. The transformation of my life was complete when, on my 18th birthday, Dad presented me with adoption papers for Natalie, whom he had been dating for the past year. Only if you want this, Natalie said, her expression nervous but hopeful. I would never try to replace your mother, Mackenzie. But I would be honored to be your stepmother in more than just name. I hugged her fiercely. Natalie had shown me what real maternal love looked like through consistent actions rather than hollow words. She attended my school events, respected my boundaries, celebrated my successes, and supported me through setbacks. I'd like that very much, I told her. As I prepared for my senior year, I reflected on the journey from abandoned teenager to confident young woman. The airport betrayal that had once seemed like the end of my world had instead become the beginning of something better. A life built on authentic love and mutual respect. Senior year brought college applications, photography portfolio development, and the unexpected news that Mom and Richard had divorced. The information came via a terse email from Mom. Richard and I have separated. I've moved to an apartment in Westport. Thought you should know. I showed the message to Dad during our weekly Sunday breakfast at Malibu Farm. Do you think I should respond? He considered carefully before answering. That's entirely your decision, Mac. What do you feel? After 2 years of limited contact, my anger had cooled into something more complex. Not forgiveness, exactly, but a detached understanding of Mom's flaws and weaknesses. I think I should acknowledge it, I decided. But I'm not ready for more. My reply was simple. I'm sorry to hear about your divorce. I hope you're taking care of yourself. Her response came within minutes. I miss you. Can we talk sometime? Dr. Fields helped me navigate this unexpected development. You've done tremendous work healing, she said during our now monthly session. A conversation might provide closure, but only if you're ready. After careful consideration, I agreed to a video call. Seeing Mom's face on my laptop screen was jarring. She looked older, the confident polish of her Richard-era self replaced by something more vulnerable. You look wonderful, Mackenzie, she said, her voice thick with emotion. Your father must be taking good care of you. He is. We're doing well. I kept my responses measured, protective of the life and healing I'd built. I made terrible mistakes, she admitted, surprising me with her directness. The airport. I don't know what I was thinking. Richard had such control over everything, including me. That's not an excuse, Mom. You made choices. I know. She wiped away tears. When you left, when the court took away custody, I told myself you were being dramatic, that you'd come back. But you didn't. And eventually, I had to face what I'd done. She explained that after losing custody, her relationship with Richard deteriorated. He resented the negative attention from the court case and the financial implications of the back child support payments. Ashley and Aiden, now in college, barely visited. I lost everything, she said. My daughter, my marriage, my home. I'm sorry you're hurting, I said, and meant it. But I'm not sorry I left. It was the healthiest choice I could have made. Will you ever forgive me? She asked. I don't know, I answered honestly. I'm not carrying the anger anymore, but trust is different. You would need to earn that back. And I'm not sure you can. After the call, I felt lighter somehow. The conversation hadn't magically resolved everything, but it had shifted something inside me. I was no longer defined by her abandonment. I was defined by how I'd risen above it. The most unexpected confrontation came in April of senior year when Richard Thomas appeared unannounced at a photography exhibition featuring my work at a small Los Angeles gallery. Dad spotted him first, his posture immediately tensing. What is he doing here? Dad muttered. I placed a calming hand on his arm. It's okay. I can handle this. Richard approached awkwardly, looking out of place among the artistic crowd. Impressive work, he said, gesturing to my photographs. You've done well for yourself. Thank you, I replied neutrally. What brings you to Los Angeles? Business meeting. He shifted uncomfortably. And I wanted to apologize. What happened at the airport, the way you were treated in our home, it was wrong. The admission stunned me. Why no? It's been over 2 years. My own children barely speak to me anymore, he admitted. Ashley told me recently that how I treated you showed her what kind of man I really was. She was right. I studied the man who had once held such power over my life. He seemed smaller now, less imposing. I appreciate the apology, I said finally. But it doesn't change what happened. No, it doesn't. He handed me a business card. If you ever need anything, well, I owe you that much at least. After he left, Dad found me staring at my centerpiece photograph, a teenage girl standing alone at an airport terminal, surrounded by travelers but utterly isolated. You okay? He asked gently. Better than okay, I realized. I think I just closed a chapter. The final piece of justice came with my college acceptances. I'd been offered scholarships to several prestigious photography programs, including one at UCLA that would allow me to remain close to Dad and Natalie, now married and expecting a baby. The day I accepted UCLA's offer, I received a letter from Mom. Inside was a check for a substantial amount. This is the money Richard set aside for his children's education, her note explained. I convinced him that you deserved an equal share. It won't make up for the past, but perhaps it can help your future. After discussing it with Dad, I decided to accept the money but direct it to a specific purpose. I established the Reynolds Foundation for Youth Photography, a nonprofit that provided equipment and mentorship to underprivileged teenagers interested in visual arts. At my high school graduation, I scanned the audience as I walked across the stage. Dad and Natalie were front and center, Dad filming while Natalie, showing her pregnancy, cheered loudly. Jessica's family had saved seats for them, creating a supportive community I'd never expected to find. And in the back row, almost hidden, sat my mother. She hadn't told me she was coming, but our occasional video calls had gradually built a fragile bridge of communication. Not forgiveness, not yet, but perhaps the beginning of a different kind of relationship. As I accepted my diploma, I looked directly at Dad. His proud smile, the tears he didn't bother hiding, reflected the unconditional love that had saved me when I needed it most. The abandoned girl from the airport had found her way home after all. Today, at 34, I run Reynolds Photography Studio in San Francisco's vibrant Mission District. The exposed brick walls display my award-winning work alongside emerging photographers I mentor through the foundation. My journey from abandoned teenager to successful business owner wasn't linear, but every step taught me something valuable. College at UCLA provided technical skills and artistic vision, but the real education came through the ongoing work of healing. Dr. Fields remained my therapist through undergraduate years, helping me navigate the complex emotions that surfaced during milestones like my 21st birthday and college graduation. Trauma doesn't disappear, she explained during one particularly difficult session after Mom missed my graduation due to scheduling conflicts. But we can learn to carry it differently, to integrate it into our story without letting it define us. That integration took many forms. I created a photography series titled Abandoned Spaces that traveled to galleries nationwide, transforming my personal pain into art that resonated with others who had experienced rejection. I volunteered with youth support programs, mentoring teenagers navigating family disruptions similar to my own. Dad remained my steadfast supporter, transitioning from protective parent to trusted advisor as I matured. When Reynolds Tech went public during my junior year of college, making him wealthier than I could comprehend, he established a trust for me that I largely redirected to the foundation. I'm proud of your generosity, he told me. But remember to take care of yourself too. Our shared passion for photography evolved into a business partnership when I graduated. Dad's technical knowledge paired with my artistic vision created innovative digital photography applications that supplemented my studio income. Every Sunday, regardless of our busy schedules, we maintained our breakfast tradition, now including Natalie and my half-brother James, named after Dad. My relationship with Mom developed slowly, with careful boundaries. After college, I agreed to occasional visits when business took me to the East Coast. She had sold the Westport house and downsized to a modest condo. Working again in real estate after the divorce settlement proved less generous than expected. "I'm trying to be the person I should have been," she told me during one visit. "I know it's too late to be the mother you needed then, but perhaps I can be someone positive in your life now." The airport abandonment, ironically, taught me to recognize authentic love. When I met Michael Hamilton at a photography conference in my late 20s, I approached the relationship with hard-earned wisdom. His patience, consistency, and respect revealed a character I could trust with my heart. "I've heard so much about you," Michael said upon meeting Dad for the first time. "Mackenzie says you're the standard by which she measures integrity." Dad looked embarrassed, but pleased. "I just try to be there when she needed me." "That's exactly what integrity is," Michael replied. We married in a beachside ceremony in Malibu, near where Dad's house once stood before he downsized to a comfortable condo after retirement. Mom attended, maintaining appropriate boundaries and even sharing a civil conversation with Dad and Natalie during the reception. "You've created something beautiful from something painful," she acknowledged, watching as Michael and I danced beneath string lights on the beach. "I'm sorry for my part in the pain, but I'm glad you found your way." Healing doesn't mean forgetting. I still remember the weight of my carry-on bag in the airport terminal, the sound of Mom's retreating footsteps, the cold panic of abandonment. But those memories no longer control me. They're simply part of a larger story that includes triumph, resilience, and unexpected blessings. When our daughter Lily was born, I made 2 promises to myself. I would never let her doubt her worth in our family, and I would teach her that people can recover from even the most profound betrayals. Looking back at 34, I can see how the airport abandonment became the unexpected catalyst for everything good in my life. It reconnected me with my father, whose love never wavered even when distance separated us. It taught me to recognize my own strength and resilience. It showed me the difference between toxic relationships and healthy ones. Most importantly, it taught me that family isn't defined by obligation or blood alone, but by consistent love, respect, and presence. The family I've built includes my father and Natalie, my husband Michael and our daughter Lily, my half-brother James, and friends like Jessica who stood by me during the hardest transitions. Mom exists on the periphery of this family circle. Our relationship respectful but careful. Some wounds heal completely. Others leave scars that remind us of our journey. My relationship with her falls into the latter category. But even that represents growth from where we began. If you're facing abandonment or betrayal by someone who should have protected you, please know this: what happened to you is not your fault. And it does not define your worth. The people who walk away reveal their own character, not yours. Sometimes the most painful endings create space for unexpected beginnings. Thank you for listening to my story. If it resonated with you, please like this video and subscribe to my channel where I share more reflections on resilience and rebuilding. In the comments, I'd love to hear about your own experiences with overcoming difficult family situations. What helped you heal? What lessons did you learn? Your story matters too, and sharing it might help someone else find their path forward. Remember, the most powerful response to abandonment isn't bitterness or revenge, but building a life so full of authentic love that the absence that once defined you becomes just a single chapter in a much longer, more beautiful story.